Konnan, did you watch Smackdown?
Yes, I did.
I was not impressed with the show at all.
Right.
Coming off of the hot weekend, they just had like a bunch of long matches and one big thing at the end. So it starts off.
Wait, let me step on you here real quick, Di, just because I want to write him back. So you saw I could get Stevie Ray, right? You guys want him next week?
Sure.
Cool. Boom. All right. That's when I wanted to make sure I could lock him in. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So basically, the shows the Bloodline show up. Solo, Jimmy, Roman, and Heyman. No Jay. Roman refused to answer any questions, and Heyman said he could neither confirm nor deny the status of Jey Uso in the Bloodline, but thanked him for wearing they thanked Kayla for wearing their colors tonight. She wore a black jacket on top of a red sweater. So then they go Braun Strowman and Ricochet against Imperium. Very long match. I think I went through 2 commercial breaks, but we get down to the finish, and Kaiser and Strowman tagged in, and Braun tossed Kaiser all the way across the ring, then sent Vinci to ringside and turned Kaiser inside out with a lariat. Strowman picked up Kaiser and landed a monster bomb, and then tagged Ricochet, who climbed on Braun's shoulder and landed a swanton for the pin. So Ricochet and Braun Strowman defeat the Imperium. I thought Imperium was getting. I thought they were going to win this, to be honest with you. So next week the Usos will face Strowman and Ricochet. What do you think of this?
Yeah, way too long, but a really good match. And Strowman's really become more valuable because before I couldn't watch any of his matches, and ever since that match he had with Gunther, I think it was on SmackDown. He's been showing he can hang in the ring, All
right. So then they did Charlotte is interviewed backstage, and instead of talking about a WrestleMania match, her shift focused to Sonya. Sonya walked up, and this is actually pretty funny. She's over in Flair country, and she did the woo. Right. And I actually laughed, and I think Charlotte laughed too. It was actually pretty funny.
Kind of looked like it, yeah.
Right, it was funny. So then Charlotte, so basically, Deville said she would face Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania because it's in Hollywood and Sonya is a star, and Charlotte nodded and grinned as Sonya walked away. And Cole said we see footage of Judgment Day confronting Rey Mysterio at a NASCAR event, and then we go to that. And Dom and yeah, go ahead. Do you comment on that?
Yeah, did you already talk? You haven't talked about their match, right?
No, they're not. Yeah, I'm talking about the Dominic Rey Mysterio thing at the NASCAR track.
Yeah. That
was pretty funny.
That was good because it's storyline progression, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was funny stuff.
I like when Dominic goes, "Who's the guy in the pajamas?"
Yeah, right. He made another prison reference too that was pretty funny there. I forgot what it was, but this was funny. This actually had some good lines in there. Then Charlotte against Sonya. There's 10 minutes. Basically near the end, Deville went for a figure 4. Charlotte avoided it, applied one of her own, and then she bridged up into the figure 8, and Sonya was forced to tap out. So Sonya got her little run here against Charlotte, but she gets beat again. So what do you think of this?
Right, that's what I don't like. Sonya's such a star. She delivers great promo. She was great when she was that figurehead with what's this guy with Pierce. But all she does is get beat. Bro, this is like the second time in maybe the last month that Sonya Deville somehow like tricks or gets Charlotte to give her a championship match, and all she does is lose. I mean, you got to give this girl a win because she's a good heel.
She needs a win.
Right.
Get some heat.
What's the big deal? To have her beat Flair and make somebody. What's the big deal? I don't understand.
They go back in the locker room, and Roman asked Jimmy Uso where his brother was, and he asked if he talked to him. Said he hadn't heard from him. Roman called that disrespectful and reminded that Jimmy had a title match next week, and Roman asked him again if he'd spoke to him, and Jimmy replied, "This is my brother. If anybody hears from him, it's going to be me, and just need time to chill out." So Roman asked Solo if he heard from him, and Jimmy answered that if he hadn't heard from him, nobody had. Roman demanded that they find him and said they wouldn't do it from the couch. So Roman's a little bit aggravated here about Jey Uso. Then we go to the Viking Raiders against the Brutes, another qualifier match, and the Viking Raiders end up going over. So after the match, the Viking Raiders, Sheamus and McIntyre walked out and took out the Viking Raiders on the stage, and they played to the crowd, but didn't seem overly concerned about Butch, who was motionless in the ring. What did you think about all this? This is pretty much formula. It's a good match, but
Yeah, good match. I'm not a big fan, as I said, of the brawling brutes. That sounds like little dolls you play with or something.
Right.
Good match. All 4 of them are good workers, and they're motivated, and they bring it, and the Raiders are really physical, and it takes the stench of all the stupid they did with New Day back in the day. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So then they did the elimination match for the Elimination Chamber 4-way with 4 girls. They always do this. Like they always get TV out of characters they're not doing anything with, just throw them in an eliminator match, right? So they had Zelina versus Natalya versus Shayna and Shotzi, and I'm assuming I thought Shayna Baszler was going to win this, but Natalya won it. That was interesting.
Right.
What'd you think about that? I mean, maybe
That's
they
so
want a good
weird
word.
because they never do anything with her. She's stale. She was getting a little bit of heat when she won the tag team championship. Was way overdue with Tamina, and then they dropped her again. Who's gonna believe in her? They don't really. She's like an afterthought, and all of a sudden you want to make it believable that she's a threat. Shotzi to me still looks like a star. Shayna looked really good here. Zelina's hot. She looked like she was wearing lingerie. But as I've said before, it's hard for me to take somebody that's a little bit bigger than a mini luchador seriously, and that her physicality is not believable against bigger girls.
Right. So Roman backstage was with Paul. Paul said that Jay's phone goes straight to voicemail. Solo and Jimmy sat down, and Roman told them he's under a lot of stress and stretched too thin, and apologized for the way he spoke to them. He sent them to the bus where Paul had sent some catering and said he would go to the ring where he would handle some business alone. Roman impressed upon them they needed everybody back together so they could be strong as ever, especially this time of year. So then Roman comes out and basically addressed Sammy. Said he said he would rather have talked about Cody Rhodes since he won the Rumble and actually deserves his attention. But Roman called the crowd simple folks and said they wanted him to talk about the past. So Roman addressed Sammy and said he saw greed in his eyes a few weeks ago. That was all he needed to see. Roman accused Sammy of using him and his bloodline for his own benefit, just like everyone else he meets in public or in a restaurant. They all want something for him, and they never want to give back. And out of nowhere, Sammy, in a hoodie, just attacked Roman. Got a pretty good beating on him. But Roman turned the table quickly and had Paul go grab a chair. But Sammy grabbed the chair and set up to hit Roman and be rolled out of the ring. He then grabbed the microphone and said Roman was wrong about him. Sammy said he never wanted anything from Reigns until now and challenged him to match for the WWE Championship at what you call it?
Elimination Chamber.
At Elimination Chamber. And Jimmy Uso and Solo then hit the ring and beat down Sammy. And Solo landed a Samoan spike. And they wrapped the chair around and set him placement in the corner, but Roman stopped them because they were going to do that thing where he smashes his neck. Roman knelt down next to Sammy and told him he would get what he wants, but he wanted something from him. He told him he wanted him in Elimination Chamber in Montreal because he broke up his family, and he wanted to break him in front of his parents, his wife, his child, and all of his friends. Reigns told him he could have accepted his invitation to join the Bloodline and reach the Promised Land, but now find out what happens when you mess up the Bloodline and break up his family. Heyman brought Roman the titles and held him in Sammy's face and told him that this was simple to him, not a dream. It was his reality. And Roman reiterated that he should have stayed in the Bloodline, but now it was over for him. And Roman held up the titles to close the show. What did you think of this? The last segment's the only thing I liked on the show, to be honest with you.
Yeah, this was a great way to end the show. The place went absolutely nuts when he attacked Reigns. Mm-hmm. There were some good lines here where when Sami Zayn says something like, "You're wrong about me. I never wanted anything from you until now. Now I want your championship." That was a good line because he's really focused on what he wants. I like when the fans were chanting, "We want Jay."
We want Jay. I get that. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they were like, "Yeah, you don't want Jay, but you can't have Jay, or Jay isn't here because you broke up my bloodline." Right. So either he ad-libbed that because he didn't know they were going to chant it, or maybe when they were writing this, they say, if the people start chanting, "We want Jay," say this. But that was a good line. Mm-hmm. And then he said, you broke up my family, and I want to break you in front of yours in Montreal, which is where he's from. So really good ending. And
it worked too tonight. This was a good old Southern old school crowd. They were in Greensville, South Carolina. And that's like, you could tell they were popping on the strikes and stuff and everything.
Right.
So it was a good crowd for this. So it's good stuff.
Well, great way to end the show. That's for damn sure. And to continue the storyline.
Yeah. Well, that's been our SmackDown review.